giving it voice, but it's deeply, deeply oppressed, right? It's deeply, deeply oppressed because it's misunderstood, right? The misunderstanding is that now that I've done this video on the occult, oh, Dr. Campbell's a Satanist, right? And you know, it's unfortunate if you believe that, but I don't really have to prove anything to you. So when it boils down to it, it's a matter of recognizing, and this is important, right? It's a matter of recognizing that it's an alternative, an oppressed, a repressed, a suppressed theoretical approach to discussing reality, right? So first thing I need to give the caveat is that there's many occultists who don't believe in handedness, right? Left-handed path, right-handed path, and they would deny left-handed and right-handed path. And I have pagans that follow me, and I have occult practitioners that follow me on YouTube. So I'm sure I will get into a debate in that. But you know, for me, I believe and I recognize that there is a right and a left-handed path. So I'm going to present the information as though it were the case that there is a right and left-handed path. People will disagree with me, but we can have that argument at a different time. So I'm presenting this information as though there were a right-handed path and a left-handed path. So I am denying the claim that there isn't this distinction, and I'm going to present the information as though, and I have tons of, referential, citational information. This is not something I just cooked up. I mean, I did my dissertation on this, I've written on this, and so there's citation information for those of you buffs and fans that want to go off and check somebody else's credentials to make sure that what I'm saying is correct, right? So I am going to present it as though it were left and right-handed paths. Okay, so both paths. So now we're talking about both the left and the right, believe the following. And just typically, quickly, and I'll get into more detail later, the left-handed path is the dark side of the force, right? The bad guys, quote unquote, right? Those evil not all left-handed is Satanists. I'll get into this in a second, right? But Satanists are in the left-handed path. Devil worshippers, demonologists, and so on, right? So left-handed path, sort of the bad road. The right-handed path, the good road, and I'll talk about that. White light, good guys, wizards, and elves, and all that other interesting stuff, right? So right-handed path, good guys, left-handed path, quote-unquote, bad guys. Good and evil, right? Left is bad, right is good. Gross generalization, but I'll explain it more in detail later. Okay, this is what they both believe. Before we talk about each individual account, what they both believe. Both, no matter if you're a left-hand path occultist or right-hand path occultist, you both believe the same thing. Okay, first thing that they both believe. Both the left and the right-hand path occultists believe that occultists have more in common with the theists than the atheists, right? So that they both believe that there is more in common with theists than atheists, right? And I explained why. Remember, going back to Aristotle's first principle, Aristotle's uncaused cause, for both the theists and the occultists, the uncaused cause, they don't use this language, this is me infusing philosophy to make sense of this so I can present this information, but using Aristotle's conception of the uncaused cause, the first principle for both the occultist and the theist is a mind inception, right? Mind began and matter followed from mind, and it was specifically the mind of God, the mind of the supreme being, whoever that thing is, or that thing is. The scientific community disagrees with both the occultist and the theist and says, no, it's matter first and then mind, or a more reductivist account of science says, no, it was matter and it was always been and has always been matter. So, the first thing that both left-hand path occultists and right-hand path occultists will believe is that there's more in common, occultists have more in common with theists than they do with scientists, right? Scientists really are contemporary, sort of reductive physicalist scientists, are not only in opposition with just believers, but they're in opposition with occultists, right? Because occultists have more in common, left or right, have more in common with people who believe in God or gods than people who don't believe in anything. Okay, occultists oppose the principles of reductionist material scientific thought. So I just explained that, right? Oppose reductivist. Right? They oppose reductivist scientists, which is what science is now, right? Science has become reductivist, right? There is no room in science for spirituality. There's no room in science for faith of, faith other than, the faith that it takes for me to step on the floor. Science has become reductivist. I don't know, I think it's a bad thing, personally, but that's what it is, right? It's not just, atheistic, it's completely reductivist, right? Reductivist atheist. So, occultists oppose the principles of reductionist material scientific thought. They don't agree with that, both left and right. Something that both left and right have in common again. Occultists, both left and right, believe in mind rather than matter as the uncaused cause. And I explained that, right? So they both, left and right, believe in mind, if I could write today, mind as the Aristotelian. They believe in mind as the uncaused cause. Again, I'm not really introducing anything novel or new here. All of this has been said throughout history for millennia, but I haven't seen anywhere, especially on YouTube, where it's been presented in a sort of lecture format. And for me, this is the best format for you to have a general understanding. Anything beyond this, you'll have to gain that knowledge yourself. Okay, next point, and I have an asterisk here because this is, at this point, I'm going to reintroduce in my discussion of the left-hand path and the right-hand path specifically. Next point is very important. Asterisk. Knowledge has been lost as a byproduct of human evolution and scientific skepticism. So both the left and the right path, right, those who practice the left-hand path and those who practice the right-hand path, both believe that there is a knowledge that has been lost. And it's a knowledge of our connectedness with the universe, right? As we said before, there are different ways of explaining this, and I'll explicitly demonstrate what that is by the end of the lecture. But there's a belief that there was a time in which we had access to knowledge that we don't have now. And as, I'll talk for myself, I can't talk for anybody else, but for me, as a lover of knowledge, right, philosophy is the love of knowledge. So as a real philosopher, I need to know what's going on. I don't have to practice it, but I want to know. I will live my life craving new information, right? So where there is information to be had, I want to have access to it. And what the occult is saying is, hey Jason, yeah, there's a lot of information there in science, and you can come to know that, but there's also more information over here, right? And I don't necessarily need to believe in all of this, but there's information, it's undeniable. Whether or not you watch this video, whether or not you believe what I'm saying, whether or not you agree with me, there are millions of people that ascribe to this, right? And they know what it is that I'm talking about. And whether or not you allow yourself access to this information is not going to change the fact that there's this information. So for me, I'm like, well, I want to know. I want to know. Curiosity killed the cat maybe, but I want to know. So knowledge has been lost, right? And it's an attempt to try and retrieve this. So there's a belief that knowledge has been lost, and there's an attempt to try and retrieve this knowledge. They make a whole bunch of cool movies about how this knowledge is retrieved. They talk all this stuff and blah, 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 and, secret sects and secret orders and encrypted codes and messages and faxes and emails, or all conspiracy theory, spooky boogeyman stuff. Really and truly, you know how it's retrieved. It's a dude opening up a book and just reading. That's how you get the secrets of the universe. You just read, right? It's amazing how that works, right? So it doesn't take any hocus pocus. You just need to spend time reading. Everything is buried here, right? I heard a really derogatory joke. I'll never forget it. It was the worst joke I've ever heard. Feel free to laugh out loud if you want, or not, or be really pissed. But the joke was, the best place to hide something from a black man is in a book, right? If you want to hide something from a black dude, put it in a book. You'll never know the truth. Yeah, I spend my life in books, right? Because I don't think that was really funny. It's cool if you laugh though, but and it's not just a black man. If you want to hide information from just every Tom, John, Jane Doe, put it in a book. Nobody's going to take the time to read it. Luckily for you guys, I've taken over time to read all of these books and articles, and now I'm presenting